couple hours ago, Real American Freestyle Wrestling announced that they had signed Khamzat Chimaev to a deal.
Who signed him to a deal?
RAF, the wrestling promotion.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Signed Chimaev to a deal.
I hope it works out for him, yeah.
I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on that and just kind of RAF, what they've done over the past few months. And, you know, they've been putting on a lot of events with UFC talent.
Yeah, good for them. I hope it works out for him, yeah.
The wolf can't be controlled. The wolf is not asked permission. That's why there are no wolves in the circus. It watches. It waits. And when the time comes, it hunts.
Right. I'm coming.
Khamzat, who do you want to see him wrestle at RAF first? I want to see him versus Bo Nickel.
I want to see Bo Nickel as well because Bo Nickel legit wrestler and now he's in MMA. And then I would like to see Colby Covington, Chris Weidman. There is 97 kg, but Khamzat is not that big for 97 kg, I feel like.
Kyle Snyder.
Kyle Snyder is good. He needs to do maximum 2 with guys from MMA and then he can compete with Olympic wrestlers.
A lot, actually. There's a few moving parts. Look, Real American Freestyle is signing the top talent, and Dana White is allowing his athletes, he doesn't have to allow this. He has chosen to allow his athletes to participate. It's a big deal. Real American Freestyle, you have guys like Colby, or you have the #1 ranked guy like Arman Sarukian, but it's a difference. Rising stars like Bo Nickel, but there's a difference. New talent like Gable Steveson, but there's a difference in having the reigning, sitting world champion.
All right, fight fans, you clicked that headline and you're probably wondering, did Dana White actually drop Khamzat Chimaev? Let's dive straight into the heart of it. What we just heard confirms that Dana White has, in a truly rare and unprecedented move, given Khamzat Boars Chimaev the green light to sign with Real American Freestyle Wrestling. This isn't a demotion, it's a strategic allowance that carries massive implications for Chimaev's UFC career. The fact that a reigning top-tier UFC champion is being permitted to compete under another banner highlights Chimaev's unique drawing power and the UFC's evolving approach to managing its biggest stars. It speaks volumes about the level of trust and mutual benefit involved, but also raises questions about scheduling and potential conflicts down the line. This isn't just another wrestling match, it's a seismic event in the combat sports world.
So what does it mean? What do you do from here? Let me share something behind the scenes that I know, that I have access to. Chimaev will take on anybody. And it's very difficult to find somebody like that. To find a reigning sitting world champion who doesn't need the money, doesn't need the attention. To find somebody that likes to compete so much that he is going into a different organization just for the chance to shake hands and compete.
Now, this is where it gets truly fascinating. The speaker reveals a crucial behind-the-scenes insight. Khamzat Chimaev is not doing this for the money, nor for the attention. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a global superstar, a reigning UFC champion who is willingly stepping into a completely different combat sport, just for the love of competition. In an era where many fighters are hyper-focused on their brand, their paychecks, and their carefully curated careers, Chimaev's pure, unadulterated desire to shake hands and compete is almost archaic. It harkens back to a different era of fighting, a prize fighter mentality in its most primal form. This isn't about building a legacy in another sport. It's about testing himself against the absolute best, simply because he can. That level of competitive fire is truly rare and demands respect.
Behind the scenes, I can tell you, Chimaev will take on anybody. I like Bo Nickel. I would really be interested in Chimaev versus Bo Nickel. Chimaev is well aware that Sadulayev is under contract. He's well aware that he's been called out by Kyle Snyder.
This segment underscores Khamzat's anybody, anytime philosophy, a mentality we've seen flashes of in the UFC, but is now crystal clear outside the octagon. The mention of Bo Nickel and Kyle Snyder isn't just name-dropping, it's a direct challenge. These are legitimate, world-class, pure wrestlers For Chimaev to openly welcome these matchups, knowing the difference in the rule sets and the specialized skills required, truly sets him apart. This isn't bravado, it's a deep-seated confidence that few possess. It tells us that Chimaev isn't interested in protecting an undefeated record or a carefully crafted narrative. He's interested in fighting, period. This willingness to test himself against the elite of another discipline is a testament to his warrior spirit and directly influences how Dana White might be dropping him into new competitive arenas.
And nowhere, even privately, has Sadulayev said, keep me away from this guy, put me in this weight class. I don't want to take on, and then fill in the blank. I don't want to take on a pure wrestler. I don't want to take on a fellow MMA fighter. I don't want to take on, right? It's one of these things, and you've got to deal with. You got to deal with this with top talent everywhere that they go.
What a powerful contrast. The speaker highlights a common, yet often unspoken reality in top-tier combat sports, the art of opponent selection. Many elite athletes, understandably, strategically navigate their careers to optimize matchups, avoid stylistic nightmares, or protect their unblemished records. But the statement here is that with Chimaev, there's none of that. No private whispers, no demands for specific weight classes, no avoidance of pure wrestlers or fellow MMA fighters. This isn't just about Chimaev. It's a critique of the modern landscape where protective matchmaking is a norm for many. Khamzat, by stark comparison, cuts through all that. His complete lack of pretense in opponent selection is a breath of fresh air and solidifies his reputation as one of the most genuinely competitive individuals in the fight game today. This is the kind of integrity Dana White likely respects, allowing Chimaev this unique opportunity.
But the history of wrestling says otherwise. The history of wrestling says you show up, you get on the scale, and you take on whoever else showed up and got on the scale. It turns out Chimaev's that guy, and Chimaev understands the code.
This is a profound statement about the very essence of wrestling. The speaker argues that the history of wrestling dictates a simple, brutal truth. You show up, you weigh in, and you fight whoever else does the same. There's no room for negotiation, no room for picking and choosing, and crucially, Chimaev is that guy and understands the code. This isn't just about his physical skills. It's about his mental fortitude and his adherence to a warrior's creed. In an age where fighter contracts, manager negotiations, and social media callouts often dictate matchups, Chimaev's commitment to this old-school philosophy is incredibly impactful. It's a throwback that endears him to purists and explains why he's so willing to step into the RAF arena without hesitation. Dana White knows that a fighter with this code is gold, whether in the octagon or on the wrestling mat.
Right. Chimaev's a two-time national champion that was in Sweden. But people forget that he eventually moved to Sweden. In the junior days, which you guys, for perspective, think of high school. When you hear the term junior, think of high school. In Chimaev's high school, his junior days, he was third. This is while living in Russia, so that means he was third in the Russian nationals.
For those who only know Boris from his devastating UFC performances, this segment is a vital reminder of his deep, legitimate wrestling roots. He wasn't just good at wrestling. He was a two-time national champion in Sweden. But the revelation of his junior days in Russia, placing third in the Russian nationals, is truly eye-opening. This isn't some casual hobbyist. This is a man who was forged in the fire of one of the world's toughest wrestling proving grounds. This pedigree means his foundational skills are elite, developed against top-tier competition from a young age. It explains why his transition to MMA wrestling was so seamless and dominant. Understanding this background is crucial to appreciating the magnitude of his return to pure wrestling. It's not a new venture, but a powerful homecoming for a seasoned grappler, making his RAF signing even more compelling.
He then moves to Sweden, becomes a couple of time national champion. And how far can he go? Where are his skills in wrestling today? We get that he was great once upon a time, but he then took that greatness, transferred that energy over to MMA, became king. But while becoming king, did nothing but wrestle.
This is where Khamzat's story truly intertwines his wrestling heritage with his MMA dominance. After honing his skills further in Sweden, he took that raw, world-class wrestling talent and directly transferred that energy over to MMA. The speaker highlights a critical point. While becoming a king in the UFC, Chimaev did nothing but wrestle. Think about his early fights, the grappling clinic against Li Jingliang, the relentless pressure against other top contenders. His path to the top wasn't paved with flashy knockouts, though he has those. It was built on an unbreakable wrestling foundation. This makes his move to real American freestyle so compelling. He's not just a wrestler. He's a wrestling champion who became an MMA champion through wrestling. It's a full-circle moment that legitimizes his skills in both worlds.
We were so close to getting Merab versus Henry. And one thing that was compelling about that, while I don't know of a match that Merab's ever had, and I watched Henry win the Olympic Games, but in MMA, Merab out-wrestled Henry. It's different. The posture is different. Wearing a shoe versus going shoeless, it's different. But it's still compelling.
The comparison to Merab Dvalishvili out-wrestling Henry Cejudo in MMA is a brilliant illustration here. Cejudo is an Olympic gold medalist, a wrestling legend, but the speaker correctly points out that MMA wrestling has different dynamics: posture, shoeless feet, cage work. Yet, Merab, primarily known for his relentless pace, managed to out-grapple Triple C. This example sets the stage for Khamzat, highlighting that his MMA wrestling dominance isn't just about brute force, it's adaptable and effective within a different context. It shows how compelling these crossovers are, even when the pure wrestling rule set differs. This comparison magnifies the excitement for Chimaev and RAF, suggesting his unique style, honed in the octagon, could pose a new challenge for pure wrestlers, making him a fascinating variable in the wrestling world.
And nobody has come even close to out-wrestling Chimaev. In fact, I could back up from there. Nobody has come even close to stopping the offensive wrestling of Chimaev. So to put him purely in this environment, cool. I'm interested. So are you.
And here's the absolute truth about Khamzat's grappling in the UFC. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has come close to out-wrestling him or even stopping his offensive wrestling. This isn't conjecture, it's a verifiable fact from his performances against elite competition. He has ragdolled opponents, taken them down at will, and maintained suffocating control, to then take that unparalleled dominance and drop him into a pure wrestling environment as Dana White is allowing, is not just cool, it's an incredibly exciting proposition. It tests the very premise of his wrestling prowess outside the confines of MMA. Fans are genuinely interested because they know what Chimaev can do in a cage, and the question now is, how will that translate when wrestling is the only weapon in his arsenal? The anticipation is palpable.
But I want Chimaev to get the credit that he deserves. For him behind the scenes to have made it clear to RAF staff, he will not be picking his opponent. He will be showing up on a date of their choosing against anybody they put forward.
This segment unveils perhaps the most critical detail concerning Khamzat Chimaev's move to real American freestyle, and it directly relates to our headline. The speaker emphasizes that Boers made it crystal clear to RAF staff he will not be picking his opponent. He's showing up on their chosen date, ready to face anybody they put forward. This isn't just commendable, it's almost unheard of for an athlete of his stature. In a sport riddled with strategic callouts and careful opponent selection, Chimaev is throwing all caution to the wind. This genuine desire for pure competition, without hand-picking, is the ultimate testament to his competitive spirit. Dana White isn't dropping him in a punitive way, but rather giving this exceptionally willing fighter a platform to compete without the usual bureaucratic red tape, leveraging Chimaev's unique competitive drive.
There's not a lot of guys like that. And when you meet him, you treat him right, you show him his respect. You have to appreciate somebody that's got that level of competitive.
This highlights the profound rarity of Khamzat Chimaev's competitive makeup. The speaker rightly notes that there aren't a lot of guys like that, individuals who possess such an unadulterated, pure level of competitiveness. In professional sports, especially at the elite level, the drive to win can often be intertwined with business, brand management, or calculated risk assessments, but with Chimaev, it feels different. His desire to compete seems to transcend those elements, driven by an almost primal urge to test himself against the best, regardless of the consequences. This is why when you encounter such a fighter, you treat him right, you show him his respect. It's a call to appreciate a dying breed of athlete who prioritizes the contest itself above all else. His very existence challenges the modern fighter paradigm.
And a lot of guys have that on their rise to the top, but once they get to the top, they start protecting, as opposed to staying hungry. It turns out the wolf is still hungry.
And finally, the mic drop, the wolf is still hungry. This powerful closing statement encapsulates everything we've discussed. Many fighters are incredibly hungry on their ascent, using that raw desire to claw their way to the top. But once they reach the pinnacle, once they become a reigning world champion, that hunger often shifts from attacking to protecting. They protect their record, their health, their legacy. Khamzat Chimaev, however, defies this conventional wisdom. He has reached the top, yet his competitive appetite remains insatiable. This isn't about maintaining a status, it's about continuing to challenge himself, regardless of the platform. Dana White's decision to let him sign with RAF isn't a drop in status, but rather a recognition and enabling of this ceaseless hunger. It's a move that allows Boers to continue hunting, making him an even more formidable and unpredictable force in combat sports.